First of all, good evening, everyone, and welcome to 2026 and the first meeting, the open mic of the Speaker Club this year. It's been a fascinating start to the year, ups and downs. I think it's already given a demonstration of how life is in general, the ups and the waves, and something that keep coming in. We as a country, we became independent in 1947, but 1950s was when our republic was enacted. It is a process through which we are going to enforce the rule book. Isn't it ironic where we are talking of freedom and then we are talking of rule book? We are talking of rules and then we are talking of being free. But this is where the speciality or the beauty of republic is. You look at another country right beside us, being independent one day before us, and yet in the shape that it is in today, and how we are in the country that we are in. And I think the underlying difference is how the constitution or the rule book that was written, followed, and lived by, that is what it entirely made a difference. And here, okay, we are not getting into a country-wide or country-specific Republic Day. Why I'm sharing this is because at the end of it, freedom in itself is not free. Freedom in itself is not free. The meaning of freedom comes from the republic that we follow. It's in the rule book that we follow. And for that very aspect, ask yourself, for the quality of life that we have and how we lead, ask yourself, what is the rule book that you follow? One of the biggest challenges I see in a lot of people that I coach is that it's not that they don't have a rule book. It's not about the quality of rule book that they have. It's how they're following that in spirit, and how they're following and living that rule book is where it becomes a challenge. The dilemmas and the clashes and the problems that people have is not from the rules in itself. You can have any rule that you want. But the point is, are you living that in spirit? And that's where the peace and the calmness within that comes in. So today I want each one of you all to share, express, what is the rule book that you follow? What is it that you believe in, the values or the ideology that you follow in, and something that you truly live by. There can be the exceptions, there can be, for everything there is one. There can be the exceptions, there can be the challenges, there can be the struggles. There are times when the dilemma has happened. There's been the should I not kind of a situation. Professionally, personally, in your social spaces, how do you follow, or what are the rules? What is the rule book that you follow? These are stories that we are looking for here today in this open mic. Yesterday night we had the same one virtually, and it was fascinating to listen to the kind of the range of rule books that we get to hear about. Some talked about the philosophy of what they follow in their personal life. Some people talked about the professional life. Some people talk of how their rule book is defined and how it has shaped up over the years. As a child, it was decided by their parents, then by someone else, then they got married and the family rule book came into picture. And eventually, they have got to understand and form their own rule book. So ask yourself, what's the rule book that you're following?
Usually, how many of you feel that you're not getting peace of mind, or else your day was ruined due to some activities kind of? Exactly. Even I too thought the same last year, in 2025. I was searching for numerous solutions, because when I set a goal, I know I'll break it again, but I set it, but for the sake, at least for 2 to 3 days, I'll follow it. It gives me a kind of temporary happiness. But when I break it again I go into a kind of depression or sadness, saying that I broke it. When will I get progress in that kind of bad habit coming out of it? So one such case was addicted to social media. As being Gen Z and teens, we waste much of the time in social media and also a few unnecessary platforms which are not useful. By that time, I came across a book called Enlightened Parenting, which was published by Rama. So it's a kind of Q&A pages. I mean, chapter was a Q&A, where the new parents of 2020 and 2025, between that time, pose questions to atheists or sages, and they give answers. So there was one mother who was giving a question to a sage, saying that her daughter is 4-year-old and she is now addicted to social media. How should she get that daughter back to the normal play zone? So the answer which was given by the sage was again a question. What if social media doesn't exist? What would you do if social media doesn't exist? What would she do? Do the same. Then from that answer, I triggered one principle or philosophy to my own self, saying that what if I do? I mean, what would I do if there was no social media? Or else what I was doing before social media came into this picture? That was a simple thing which triggered my mind. Then I got to know, okay, I was playing with my friends. I used to go for box cricket. I used to go for cafes with my family, cousins and all. I used to go for movies, parks, and also chit chat and have fights with my father as well. So that was the first thing. Then I got to know. But suddenly, decreasing from 2 hours of Instagram to 20 minutes of Instagram is not an easy thing. Then I took an advice from my younger sister saying that, what should I do? She said, set timers on your phone. Okay, I did it. Daily 20 minutes for Instagram, 5 minutes for Facebook, 1 hour for YouTube. That too music and traveling. Then I got to know, okay, we have something called as imagination of removal. For example, I faced something called as, recently 2 weeks ago, I was traveling in metro where 2 people were fighting among themselves in Amirpet metro. There was no chance, there was no space to stand actually. So they were fighting, one hold the collar of other. But the person who held the collar, he left in between Madhapur kind of station. The person who was feeling guilty, he was with me till Raidur. So he was keeping his head down till the Raidur came. I asked him, why are you feeling so? He said, no, everyone was seeing me. I mean, I felt like a kind of negative feeling. I asked him, why don't you think if this situation would not happen, how would you be? Simple thing. So even I think the same sometimes. If something negative happens, I'll just try to, if it's not like I'm a kind of superior person, even I do feel sometimes for 10-15 minutes. After that, a kind of 1 hour, 2 hours, I think, how would I be at this time if I think that negative scenario couldn't happen to me? I mean, did not happen to me. So when you think of non-existence of few things, easily your mind will get into peace. So that was one kind of rule which I thought from this year I'll carry. So setting rules for freedom. Thank you.
I did my schooling in Telugu medium. In my constitution, when I joined my BTech to study well, to get into a perfect job so that I can look after my parents, everything went well. I joined in government department. I have been working extraordinarily well in my department. But there was an incident in my final year BTech. There was one training program, communication program. When I entered that room, I saw the tutor, he was involving everybody in the GD, group discussion. I feared a lot. Literally, I feared a lot. The next day onwards, I did not even step into that room. That fear I carried throughout my life till I stepped out of from that zone. When did this happen? Exactly 2024 it happened. From 2012 to 2024, just imagine, more than 1 decade. But to achieve this one, the constitution I mentioned, study hard, do great in your office, one amendment I made to change something in myself, to be vulnerable. Yes, it's better. Sometimes it's better than failing, staying afraid or something, you don't feel good about yourself. Then I started joining some English clubs to learn some basics and everything. Then I started to understand what is the public speaking. Then I got into this Toastmasters that really blew my mind. When I stepped onto the stage, I was very nervous. I got cold feet. That's the part and parcel of life. Everybody knows. Then, in this whole process, what the amendment I made, being a Telugu background student, I need to surround myself with the English speakers. What I did, I used one application that's a Open Talk. We can install that application. It randomly connects to anybody from all over the world. Then 30 minutes non-stop you can speak. Then, when I started speaking with my friends and family members, in my colleagues, Initially, they were very reluctant, but I never stopped. I continued like that, even though I missed my friends more than 6 months. Now they started talking with me in English. That's a different kind of story afterwards. But all this process, I observed one thing. The patience is very important. These 12 years, the patience is very important. Once you maintain that patience, the fruit comes, gives you more sweet. That is the constitution really helped me. The constitution starting, work hard, get into the department, look after your parents. But after getting into the department, the communication is very important for me. Then I made some changes. The skill, whatever I'm having, that is the main thing. I'm looking up to something. This year, as he mentioned about new skill or any resolution, I started dancing. I just want to explore the dancing skill I'm doing. I hope next year I will give my performance here. Over to you, sir.
While you're sharing about a decade lost, I also had a similar situation that while I've been a public speaker since 2005. The challenge that I had was I first attended a Toastmasters meeting in 2015. That's the first time I attended a Toastmasters meeting, but I didn't join Toastmasters till 2019. The challenge is the first time when I went into a Toastmasters meeting, my wife said, "Go there. They're good people. They speak well. They'll clap for everything. They'll give a feedback. Even if you find this is nonsense, they'll find something good in that and say it." I heard that and I went there. But when I went there and attended my first meeting, the limitation that you had was something that I had at that point in time. So it was not a case of reaching here. For me, it was moving to the next level by challenging myself that you are still not good enough. When I went into that room for the first time in 2015, it was like a slap on my face that you have been on stage for 10 years and look at you and look at these people. The way they say they are creating magic, the confidence with which they speak, the flair, the charisma with which they are speaking, you are nothing in front of them. And that one thought in my mind held me back for almost 3.5 years. And it is only in 2019 that I first went to Toastmasters meeting again and joined Toastmasters and allowed myself to fail, to look the average and keep marching forward. So that's something like I have learned as a rule book, that you can always limit yourself to rooms where you're the star. But that's a sure shot way to failure, because you're just serving your ego and living in that comfort zone. So the rule that changed for me was this, that keep pushing yourself into those rooms where you may not be at the bottom, but if you're somewhere even in between, you still have a very long way and a good enough space for you to grow. Keep yourself in the comfort far longer, you're going to die there. That's how it's going to be. Thank you for that wonderful lesson.
Good evening. Today we're talking about two things, freedom and the rule book. When I think of freedom, I was so lucky from my childhood. I went to hostel in my 7th standard itself. From that time until 12th standard, I was in hostel. And then I did my engineering close to my home. So I was going from my home. But when I think of my parents, I think they never forced me into their rule book. They leave things up to me most of the time. Even joining hostel is my own decision in 7th standard, because I got 50 marks out of 600 in 6th standard. When I went to my relative's house, they asked like how much you scored in 6th standard. I told 50. They asked which subject. I told it's a combination of all subjects. I can sense it, like I'm not very happy at the time and I want to go to hostel. And if I look back my 20 years of hostel life plus after that schooling and employment, most of the decisions are my own. There's no one actually come into the picture and force me to do something. Maybe I'm like, including my wife, we married, like it's been like 4 years we married. Most of the time she leave things up to me. So I never think of a rule book which actually made me to do a lot of things which I failed at, or which I'm not, if I look back, I'm not very happy about it. I have seen up and downs in my life, extremes as well. So one thing I got from that experience is I can do any job. For example, today if I got fired, I can drive auto, I can go to field and work. if you name any job, I'm happy to do it as well. That kind of mindset I built in my this career of this 10 years in professional employment. But I seriously think about rule book now, because it's very important to set few ground rules when it comes to health, financial stability, and ensure that we don't enter into someone's space to ruin their life or career. These are very common, very basic things, but it's very, very important. So maybe this is something I want to kind of look forward from now on to see. I consciously follow these simple things and never kind of go into a zone where it's very difficult for others to lead their life. Yeah. Thank you.
This is something that has stayed with me. It said, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for everything. And that's a challenge. When you are accommodating or adjusting, there's always that thin line which becomes very blurred for us to move from here or there. While accommodating and adjusting to any kind of an option, that's a great asset. But when it comes to the same choices that we make, if you don't have like you said, the financial choices, the health choices, if you don't have a kind of a rule book that you're not setting for yourself, invariably you'll be swayed with everyday emotions or swayed with the environment that is there, and that is what will regulate your entire life. And at the end, you'll be just like that river which is flowing in a direction that it has taken you, not being in charge of where you want to be. And I think that's what rule books or your own personal charter, as I would say, something that you can live by and follow. So thank you.
Last week, my relative has noticed some reminder in my phone. It was showing some strange message. Don't shout at Papai. Papai means daughter. He was surprised to see that message and asked, Pavan, what is this? Every experience in life is like a teacher. If you think you are a student, right? So these experience has shaped us what we are today. So past 3 years I have been following something called journaling. You can consider that as a rule book as such. So every emotion that I experience, every problem I face, every happiness I experience, I started writing it. The only reason for that is after struggling a lot and achieving something, the happiness is not staying forever. It's only 1 or 2 days that we are celebrating our happiness, but not longer. By expressing my happiness in that book, I was feeling a lot. I was knowing all the paths that I have traveled to achieve this happiness. It's a great experience. On the other hand, there were many moments in my life when I want to express something, but I was not finding anyone with whom I can share that sadness. Writing all those sad moments helped me to reflect on myself and remind my old instances where I should have done in a different way and come out of that. This rule book was helping me to shape myself and my values and principles. Coming back to that message, don't shout at Papai. Most of us are with a growth mindset, and that's the reason why you are all here, right? Chasing greater targets in my career and in my life, public speaking, leadership, all these things are buzzwords, fancy words. We think that we are progressing. At times, there are moments where we have to reflect on some things. I have been busy from past 3 months, busy in my professional life, so busy that I don't spend time with my kids and family. 3 months back, my daughter knocked the door and she was telling that, okay, Daddy, I scored less marks this time. I'm not so happy. I told, okay, yaar. If you're not getting 100, it's okay. 80 is also fine. Why are you worried? I heard I was overhearing that she was telling the same thing to multiple people. I was a bit impatient. I shouted at her. She cried. And after 2 weeks, again, the same thing happened. I repeated the same thing. And she was not stopping. So I slapped at her. After 1 month, she stopped coming to me. Not that there were no exams. She was still scoring okay, but she was never discussing with me. I realized that I'm nearly 40 and she is 14. If a person like me at the age of 40 is not so mindful of our actions, someone who is at 14 may not realize. For her, her marks is everything. Like how our career, our growth, our mindset, growth mindset, and whatever we want to achieve. We talk about principles, values, and other things. But it was a moment of reflection for me that, okay, I have learned many things over last couple of years. But am I applying that to my personal life? So if you are not applying that in your surroundings, at workplace, at your family, then your kid herself is of fearing to reach a parent to express herself. And I thought, okay, I went back to my rule book or my journaling book. How can I come out of this situation? I tried to create a plan for myself, and that is the reason for this. Every day at 5:30, apart from other messages, I see that don't shout at Popeye. So this is my reminder for myself, because not only things that we do regularly which makes us feel good, but there are some things, some habits in us, or some things that we are not seriously applying with respect to values. I have my strategy of rule book or reminders. I am sure that every experience like this may teach you something, and you have to be a student in life to grow every day and share your knowledge with others. Thank you very much, Rahul.
How many times we think that we know a lot of stuff, but I think a wonderful practice. I was reminded of this quote which says, knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Because on one side is the knowledge, the intent and all those things, and on the other side is the behavior and the actions that we have. It's fascinating of how we know a lot of stuff, but when it comes to what we are doing, it's a different story altogether, and the entire turmoil of the state of our life is defined by this side more than this side. So thank you. I think that's an interesting thought and an interesting way of how you're doing it. Talking of journaling is something that I also, for the past 2 years, I've been given input from my therapist about doing this thing for a whole host of things. But one thing is, obviously, it helps us to stop, pause, and take that moment to reflect on what is happening. Otherwise, like yesterday night, I was talking in the virtual bike also, we all like that flowing river. Unless we stop in between to see how far we have come or what we have done and where we are, it's often a case that our entire life will end without even realizing that it started. So it's a wonderful practice to keep looking back, keep holding that moment, holding that pause and looking, and that reflection is wonderful. The same idea of a lot of these open mics that we do, a lot of people come back to me later after the open mic saying that because you had an open mic of this theme, I sat down to think about it. Otherwise, in my everyday routine, I rarely think about things like this.
Sidharth, and it's nice to meet all of you here. So there are certain rules that I try and live by. Occasionally or very rarely I might falter in following them. But the first rule that I believe in is treating everybody, no matter what their profession, role, or what their age is, with dignity. Because I often feel when you deprive a person of his dignity, it is going to come back one way or the other. On the contrary, if you actually treat somebody with the due respect and treat them on par with you, often these could be people in a supportive role. So I see many people asking them to carry their footwear, or often treating them with words in Telugu called ore, are, or ekkad chachau, or in another manner, when it comes to serving them food, serving them leftover food. So these kind of actions somehow don't sit well with me. In fact, I always think, why can't we in this part of the country be like the Northeast, where let's say if we have somebody who's working as a maid, why can't they come and join us at the table and have their meal with us, have a conversation? And this happens in Europe too. So that is something that really affects me. And the other rule that I live by, when I see something is going wrong, I try and speak up. I definitely cannot say every occasion I speak up, but if something is not being done properly, it is in my general instinct to speak up. Because for instance, I was in class 6th and I was in a boarding school, as somebody else pointed out. And we had come for an excursion to Hyderabad, even though the boarding school is very close by. So my parents or my father had come to already see me at Ocean Park. And the second destination was Birla Mandir, where other parents were supposed to come. But our teacher or the librarian who was guiding us said, we need to get back home or get back to the boarding school quickly. And kids started protesting in the bus that, no, we want to go further. So he said, at that point, which of you wants to go to Birla Mandir? Nobody else raised their hand, but I put my hand up. So he came over to me menacingly and he actually gave me a tight slap, which kind of gave me a ring in the ear, but I still, no matter what the pain, I was still proud that I stood up for whatever I believed in. And that's the kind of attitude that I carry in life. Sometimes it might lead to hardship, but staying quiet never gets you the results. Often it makes things worse. So those are the 2 rules that I can speak about in my time. Thank you, Rahul, for having this.
I was copying in the exam, and through the corridor, I felt that a teacher walked past while I was doing that. And I knew which teacher it was. I felt that she saw me or didn't see me. I had a question about that. And then invariably after a few weeks, the results came out and I was a topper. And while it was announced that I was a topper, that teacher silently came there and stood there. She looking at me, I trying to avoid looking at only her. And then, while everyone was applauding, I was very happy, proud and all those things. But somewhere, I was looking at one corner that she's still seeing me. A few days later, she called me in the cabin. And she asked me, how did you feel? You are the topper. And then what she did was, she took out a small piece of mirror that she had in her drawer and she gave it to me. She said that, keep this and ask yourself, the one you see in this, is he proud that you are a topper or not? And I think that was one defining moment where for me, one of the rule book that I've followed is, irrespective of what the world sees, of how they're applauding whatever is happening, if I can see in that small piece of mirror to myself and feel, even with the hardships or even with the bad results, if I can see to myself in the eye, that's all that matters. Because a lot of us chase, I've said this often, a lot of us chase being called successful. But the real challenge is, can you feel successful? And that's a sea change of difference between the 2 versions of it. Because somewhere deep within, even if without the money, without the accolades, without the applause from the world, if you can feel proud of whatever you have done, the effort that you have given, the accomplishment that you have had in your own scale, in your own eyes, if you can have that, that's all that matters. You can sleep well. You can sleep well with that. The ones with the other side of the story will stay awake well, but ones who can look into the eye, they can sleep well. So that's one of the rules that I have followed, that always look up to your own image of yourself more than anything else. And
hello everyone, I am Siddhi. I'm from Mumbai and moved to Hyderabad since a year and a half now. The theme of what's my constitution, and that is something that I've questioned a lot lately, especially since 2 years. But to begin with, what my constitution was, how I was constituted, it all began with how my parents saw money, relationships, things, the way things function at home and the way they perceived the outside world. That's how I was constituted. When I came to college, when I was exposed a bit to the outside world, is when I realized that everyone is constituted differently, and that's okay. But certain belief systems that were put in me, like for example, you have to be financially independent, you have to be called successful, okay, and that's how you feel successful, if you're called successful. And that all came down to how my parents saw us successful. So if somebody else goes and tells them your kid is successful, then we are successful, and that's how they feel successful as parents. So it was a loop that continued, and Well, success, it could be very different for different things. At that point in time, for my parents and for me, it was about getting the best job, getting a great salary, and getting an on-site opportunity. You have to go abroad and your company has to sponsor that. Okay, and then all this happened. I moved to China. I earned some great money, and my parents were super proud of me, which otherwise usually they weren't. And then came the society that, okay, you are successful if you get married, and I wanted it because I knew no other way of living life. So it took me a lot of years, but sooner or later I was able to check that box, find the right guy, get married, etc. Then now this much I was prepared for from childhood till my 20s. Then came the point where they said that, okay, the next set of success is you getting along well with your in-laws and living in that joint family, etc. I tried, but that fell out of scope. Not trained for. And that's when I found Toastmasters Club in Mumbai. So I started going to Toastmasters Club, and I gave my first icebreaker speech. But till that time, I also didn't know that I can be a storyteller and I can be a good orator, etc. And there my confidence building helped. Then I developed a strategy that what constitutes me is what I show people. So putting up Toastmaster stories on Instagram, putting up my relationship stories on Instagram, putting up my success stories of corporate promotions on LinkedIn, etc. All that constituted of who I am, my self-worth, everything. Then came a twist, because then the next set of expectations, again, that's how I was built. The society told me, are children. For some reason that didn't happen. And then I don't know now what next. So to be honest, it's been a 4-year journey of not having children. But since 2 years, I feel everything that I was constituted of has shattered. And I feel this was something that was built up. I don't know myself anymore. And that's a journey that I have now begun, that through various things. To be honest, if someone goes and tells me, go and pray to Shivji, I'll go and pray to Shivji and tell me who I am. If someone tells me, go to this therapist, I will go and tell it, please help me figure out who I am. And that's the journey that I've begun. I don't know anymore what I constitute of, what my belief systems are. All I know is whatever I knew turned out to be false. And figuring out and hoping to survive the journey from now on. Thank you so much.
Am I in the right boat? Am I doing the right things? What will be the next choice? These are things which keep plaguing us. And I think one thing that I found myself solace is in this idea that at different points in time in life, different things will be right for you. If you can embrace that, you were great in China, great in filling up the bank, great. You were great as a wife, as a person, great. Just don't, again, I don't want to profess it to you, but I like the vulnerability which you brought onto the stage, and I'm grateful that you could share with us this experience. All I'll say is that keep holding on yourself, and like you said, keep experimenting, keep experiencing as you flow in forward in life. While I was in a deep mess in 2023, I had no idea whether I'll even live out of it or not. And that is how bad it was. And today, I'm okay. I'm not saying thriving, big and all those things. I'm at peace, kind of peace with what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And just happy in that space. With obviously those moments of spikes where again, kya ho raha hai? Kuch hoga life mein ya nahi hoga? Ye kya zindagi hai? All those things keep coming up. So thank you, Siddhi, for that vulnerable, heartfelt share. Thank you that you take this opportunity to share it with the world out there. And I think that's a part to finding yourself in the process.
Naresh R. By the way, I'm in boarding school till 4th standard, from 4th standard in Vignan Vidyalayas, Hyderabad, till 12th. So like when I did my 12th, my father, he was a bank manager, so he sent an assistant to get a printout of the results. So the marks was above 900. So everybody in the town was like, okay, who is this guy, you know, like then, okay, so-and-so he was. And then I was at like really high, okay. So when I went to Mallareddy Engineering College, that was the first batch. And then my MSET, before that, I wrote my MSET and I just missed Bits Milani because it's all mug up in Vignan, right? So I don't want to be in like Jubilees and rent a house. I don't want to go in Amirpet and be like a topper, like 1, 2, 3. So I was always in S2, B sections and get that attention because I was so good at languages. Every language teacher loved me, every social teacher. I was very extrovert, but I was always afraid of wardens because they cane you for everything. Even if you put your head up, they'll cane you. It was so strict. So my MSET rank was like a paycheck. Okay, I would not get any seat, not even civil engineering. Forget it. So my dad paid a donation. I ended up there. So coming back, how many of you think if somebody wins a 1 million lottery or 1 billion lottery, do you think they'll be really happy? They'll get broke. So at this stage, I want to confess that. So once you become really successful, your enemies becomes your relatives, your good friends, your well-wishers. Everybody rushes to you. So you have to be very careful. So I had the executive director of Vignan because he saw me. My dad came and CD100 SS, the bike. He said, "Hey, come to my cabin." I was like, "Why is this guy calling me? He has nothing to," but he saw me at different campuses, Nizampet. My dad came in and he said, "You should do, next time you're coming to Kondapur, right? Yes. You should do very, very well." "Yes, sir, I'll do my best." Then he asked me just one question. "Naresh, do you know what is your best?" I'm like this. But I'm like, after many years, now I know. I could have said him, "I want to be the happiest man. I want to bring that smile on my face. I want to really be happy. I want to, spread that grace around me. I wanted to study people, not like psychology, but what I felt is, I don't like the name like extrovert, introvert, narcissist, whatever. Because even if you see an introvert, if you make some journey with them, there's some saddest cry deep inside them, and they can be very playful and very closer to you. So I never put those words in the dictionary as high intensity words on anyone unless I made a journey with them. So that is one rule book, I think. And another thing is, in my own personal life, what I want to say is that, always, have that impact. Because like this open mic, we really don't have very honest connections and all. So always put 3 baskets. Don't put any friend in one basket and rely on them. Like I just read a quote today saying that you should have a friend who can roam and be happy, another friend to cry with, and another friend to grow with. And then they said if you have all 3 at one, but it is never possible. It is highly impossible. So you can have vulnerability, like somebody said, and you have to be exploratory, you have to fall and learn, and always don't be identified by your job, position, or anything, because you could be playing around with friends in your hostel or where else, but you could be waiting to meet that guy for hours, because everybody's life is changing, dramatically and dynamically. But at the end of the day, what you want to do is be like a Mexican, have the dignity of labor, because they're really happy people. If you ever met them, from 3-tier countries, if you talk to them, and then there's, they're really happy. So I want to be someone like that, where I can really put up my smile. People think I'm too serious, but as somebody who's very close to me, if they know me very well, they think I'm the funniest guy like that. So I like to have that from everyone, and I also wanted to spread that smile around me. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So I want to start my rule book. Yeah. So now. Okay. Yeah. Sure. So I have after completing Corona period, it was planned to me after intermediate. So there were many struggles after Corona to get a job or a placement. So I have started my brother joined a Act 5 Connect a third party. So he referred and it me 3 months I have worked there, but unfortunately due to some accounts and his max is up and down for me, and so I got at the first time I got the higher count for my first job. So later on, when instantly I got a new job from Investment Bank as a sales. So 14 months I have worked, and after 14 months I realized I have around 21 members of team in my team. So I used to work hard, verification call and explanation also I used to give. So later on, when I left tech job also, within 3 months I was I guess call center would be not my cup of tea, and I have to do something on my own. So in that 3 months I have achieved around 5 to 10 interviews, offer letters also, and help some people to get job also. So later on, again I have joined banking call center, and literally last year I have started my own company right now, and like currently I'm marketing with 7 companies. So USA, and like I am helping nature, and always like 3 months which I left my 14 months after, like at that time I was like struggling to get a job or something. I was like looking anyone can support me or something. So that inspired me myself, like no one will going to help you. You are the own motivation. You have to work hard, and so that motivated me. And right now, like I mean, helping nature, whoever like fresher or can even now in market like how is this? Even I can fails can get who have skill, they can also like earn into business or something. So that motivates me. Thank you.
All the struggles that you had. And I like that one line which you said that there's nobody who's going to come to save you. I think one of the rule book that we all need to start thinking of is this. There's nobody who's going to come to save you. You have to push yourself up, lift yourself up and do everything that you want. Thank you. I think that was a good share with regard to the journey that you had and one thing that helped you scale up into the next level. Thank you.
First of all, thank you, Rahul. Because of this theme, I actually wrote my own rules. I mean, I could reflect like what are my actual rules. So, first of all, thanks for that. So basically, when we first think of rules, it sounds more restrictive. And if we go deeper into that, we find a clarity and followed by freedom. So even my life was very simple, and my rules were also like quite simple. It has evolved from point to point, like time to time. So during my childhood, my rule was simple: just you complete your homework and then get that extra time for playing. It was all about freedom. So that rule was very simple, and then followed by school, intermediate, college. To sum up all these in one umbrella, I was living life which was by the other person's rules. I was not living by my own rules. And then I went into corporate. So that was like an awakening call for me. So initially it was very good. I mean, just go to office, complete your work, and go for team lunches, discover new places. So everything was fine, going well. Until one day I realized that, am I really living my own rules? So that question started haunting me. So then I stopped asking, what is my next milestone? Instead, I started asking, is this a kind of life which I really wanted? It's not because of this theme, but this question was haunting me for quite few years. But this question I slowly started exploring from last 1.5 years. So yeah, this question has laid the foundation to my constitution. So now my rule book is simple. The first rule is my morning belongs to me. So no matter what. Okay. Yeah, my morning belongs to me no matter what. So I mean, I like going. I wake up early, go to park, exercise, meditate, and then eat healthy food. Come back, take a nap, and then work. So the rule is simple. First rule, and the second rule is I always seek validation from others. So that was a big mistake which I've been doing from quite long. So I try to overcome that, and I've been to like different clubs. I've visited some Toastmaster clubs. I've not yet joined, but I've visited Toastmaster clubs. And recently, I've also joined a Speechcraft program, and then now I'm in here. So one thing what I've noticed is confident people are the ones who have their opinions, whether it is right or wrong, yes or no, good or bad. I mean, I noticed that they have a strong opinion. Then I thought, okay, my biggest problem was not having an opinion on anything. So maybe I'm still working on it, and I'm really glad if anyone can share their experiences, that how I can be more strong with my opinions. And the other rule is you can never keep everyone happy. So that is one rule. So I mean, the moment I started putting everyone forward and me backward, I started losing myself. So that was the one rule which I have defined, that I always put me forward. And the fourth rule is simple, like always keep learning. So if you stop learning, then your life becomes so dull, and you're curious and a creative brain doesn't work properly. So always keep busy and keep learning. And the final rule, this is my final rule. So this is actually my WhatsApp note. So this says, Yad bhavam tad bhavati. So you become what you think. So what you feed in your brain, that actually reflects outside. So these are my 5 rules which I have defined and I have written it. And yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
I think today's program is a manifestation of his 1.5 year of questioning. Eventually, it had to come out somewhere where these are the rules of my life, and the 1.5 year of preparation of this came out today. Thank you, Ajay, for sharing that. I think pretty crisp and clear rules. I was reminded of this one incident where a teacher asked the students, why do we have brakes in our car? We often think of brakes as friction, which is stopping us, which is limiting us. Yes, no? Why do we have brakes? Somebody said to stop, to slow down, to have it in case of an emergency. But then the teacher responded, one student responded saying that we have it for us to accelerate further. Now imagine if you don't have brakes, how fast can you go? How much confidence will you have to put that leg on the accelerator? It is because of the presence of brakes, the friction, the rules, or what we often call as the limitations of what governs us. It is the presence of those things that is actually allowing us to free ourselves. And like you said beautifully, the freedom comes as a result of it. The freedom comes as a result of it. Like you recently, if you have seen the kite flying, you often think the rope, the manja, is stopping the kite from flying. But if you look at it, if you release the manja, it may fly for some time, but eventually it will glide down. But it is the manja or the thin rope which is navigating and helping you make those difficult choices through the rule book that you have. It's something that will help you grow and get that freedom eventually because you have something in place. So I was just reminded of that idea about how the presence of the rules in itself is liberating. Thank you.
I have 3 rules in my life. Unfortunately, the first rule came after my 10th standard because of one, I will not say wrong decision, but I was a very duller, that backbencher kind of person in the class, and failing subjects. I had to repeat 9th class again if I continued in the same school. So because of this, we had to change school, and I don't want to name that school, but I would like to give this Wakati, Rondu, that is the school. And I literally hated that school. But thankfully, there were some good teachers, so credit where it is due. So they made me from that below average student to average. He can bring 40-50 marks, at least he can pass the exams. So till that I came. So, and after 10th standard, my father realized that I am not happy in this school whatsoever. So he told, ja, ji le apne se, take whatever in the decision. The first rule came then. I decided that was I was a fan of Rajinikanth, and this dialogue always, ye wordy, tani wordy, means it's my way or highway. So because of that, I had that mature decision making. I took commerce, and I took HR in my MBA. I thought I could have took finance. So that was, though I regret the decision, but I feel that, okay, it was my decision. So I made mistakes, and I feel that whatever it is, you can learn the hard way. And the second thing is punctuality. 99% of the time, I'm punctual. 1%, and nobody can achieve 100%. So that is a fact. But one good thing about my punctuality is in my college days, when 9:30 is the class, I come at 9:29 somehow. That was the kind of punctuality I maintained. And the third thing is consistency. I don't know how to take it positively or negatively. Because if I do walking, I have the power to do it for 3 months consistently. And if I am lazy, I have the consistency to be lazy for 4 months. So that is something I can work out, amend my rule book. These has been the 3 rules of my life. Thank you.
Myself is Somashish. I recently relocated to Hyderabad, city of Nizams and biryanis. So it is treating me well. coming back to the topic, yes, there is one thing common in all of us, I believe, apart from being human and present here, is that we all survived. We are all COVID survivor, and we faced the COVID unprecedented situation with courage and resilience, isn't it? In 2006, when I bought my first car, I was happily called the first person in my life, my mother. She was so excited at that point of time, and she said, I didn't know how to drive the car. And so my life at that point of time. And she said one thing which I'm still carrying and which helped me to navigate through the challenges: drive the car with courage, don't fear. So I'm driving my life as well with courage, exploring new opportunities, new things, whichever coming in my way. And that is the courage and resilience are my two things which constitute my life. And the premise is simplicity. Coming from a small village town, a middle class joint family, I learned to be simple. Whenever it is writing in English, speaking English, just be simple. Don't use jargon so that people sitting in front of you understand what you meant to say. Even I apply that to my walks of life, like professional life. I tell my team to keep everything simple. It is not about we have to end the day with a lot of things, but what it really matters, hourly goals, so that we can end the day positively, and so weekly goals, monthly goals, and yearly goals. When I was doing the mountaineering or trekking, my coach used to say that don't look at the top, just count your steps so that you can go to the top, because if you look at the mountain top, it will be very daunting ask. So just move on. During my cricket days, I used to learn that we have to stick around, play the ball according to the merits. If the ball is not playable, duck it, leave it, but play it when it is playable. Our life is like that. It's a game of great uncertainty, and our life is also uncertain, and COVID taught us that. So just stick around. Whatever comes in your life, move on. You don't have a choice to give up. That is what I feel. In 2003, when I was in Delhi, my father was alongside me. I was buying some mutton, and shopkeeper returned 100 rupees extra, and I gave it back, and my father said he's a very honest person. I was shocked. I was surprised because my father was a very conservative and reserved person. He never, even if I scored good marks or played well in cricket, he never appreciated me highly like that. But I carry that, and I never compromise that with any position or any situation I am in. And I believe that as a student of, I consider myself as a student of life. So whatever I gather, I pick. Like today I came here to listen to the perspective that Rahul has given, that attracted me here, that the theme that is there. So I came here to learn something from all of you so that I can plug it into my life and move on from here, because again, being from the joint family, I learned that sharing is caring. So there is someone in the audience who is waiting for the oxygen from the story that you share. Maybe that story will motivate them. And the mutual respect that I learned from my parents, that I carry in my professional life. Whenever we get stuck, we ask people, we ask the team to share their thoughts. I'm one brain. If I gather all of their thoughts, definitely we can overcome that obstacle. And lastly, definitely if I share my stories, I can also make the world better. That is what I think. So I live my constitution, live and let live. Thank you so much.
Everyone. Like Srikrishna sir mentioned, I also had these rules of being punctual and being consistent. And like my t-shirt says, I am always late. So there are a lot of rules which I kept for myself, but there are very few that I follow. And today I really wanted to talk about two, which are very paradoxical, but yet they work. So the first one, and I'm putting a very cleaner version of the line that I live by, it is, if you don't mess around, you don't find out. You don't mess around, you'll never find out. It's usually used in a negative connotation where you're messing around and you're finding and you end up in unavoidable circumstances. But to me, it's always, you'll never find out. You'll never know what the outcome is unless you give it a shot. So I've always lived by this rule where I grab whatever opportunity I get. And there are times when it led to pretty bad consequences. For example, I'm a photographer. So there was one time that I was on stage. While the person was speaking, I wanted to get some nice shots from the behind. And immediately he turned back and he saw me. It was in a room with over 300 to 400 people. And he goes, who is this girl who's been roaming around and clicking pictures all this while? Please say her to sit. If you want, I'll pose for her at the end. That was a very embarrassing situation because it was a huge room. I took the opportunity even though I was very reluctant, and it ended up in a consequence like this. But at the same time, in some similar situations, when I went ahead another time, I got some really good clicks. So it's always the same. Now, even today, I didn't come prepared, but I got the opportunity. Why not? So it's always that you have to grab the opportunity, even though you don't know, even though you're reluctant, even though you're scared, even though whatever you might overthink about the consequences, it's always good to grab the opportunity. And the second one I live by is something very similar. Wait a minute, I forgot about it. Exactly. I want to remember things. I always end up, forgetting whatever I'm trying to do, which is, even right now, I gave you a simple example. I prepared, I noted down the points in my head about what to talk. So I have this rule where I try to note down whatever my tasks are going to be so that they help me remember. And another one that I ended up forgetting now as well. So yeah, this is what life with me is usually like. And yeah, so have one good reason why. If you want to do something or you don't want to do something, have your good reason why you don't want to do it. If you don't want to do something, you're scared. That is a reason, but that's not a good reason. So always have your one good reason why. If it is in a positive sense or a negative sense, it has to be a good, legitimate reason. If you're just doubtful, if you're just scared to do things, that is not a reason why you shouldn't do it. And even to do something, if it's not going to end up in a good way, don't do it. So have your good reason why, and yeah, just go for it. Thank you.
Hi. Okay, this is my first time speaking out in the public space, kind of. And I'm very much introvert, and basically Akanksha is trying to make me a perfect extrovert, and I think I'm never gonna be an extrovert. So I don't even know what's today's topic actually. Yeah, I kind of made some points, but I'm not even recalling whatever I made. So I'll try to speak whatever rules I try to follow. So basically, in the school time, it's in the class, the teachers were like, okay, I forgot. This is so embarrassing. That's what makes me fear to speak. So the teachers were like, take permission before you drink or leave the washroom. Why should I even ask for a permission to drink? That's like a basic needs, right? Then I tried to set some rules for myself. So one of the rules were like, I should be comparing myself to people lower than me, not the higher people, because I'll end up being someone with distraught or something. That feeling kind of ends me up with disappointment. So I try to compare myself with someone with nothing, like maybe a beggar or something. So yeah, that's kind of one of the rule I set up. Thank you.
You can just
Sure. Yeah, actually, one thing is when life hits you rock bottom, And we always retrospectively think that if I could have been, I was not immature to take that decision at that point of time. All these things will be running in our heads. But the thing is, there is always a reason why this happens, because life is different for every other person. You don't know, if you have taken a plan B choice, you could have ended up you could not have been even lifted out of your own. So like Rahul has mentioned, you would, at different points, you're good at different things. So we should, let's say if I'm lacking something, like if I'm lacking a good spouse or like girlfriend or something, no matter, even if you're good at 99% of everything, your focus will be of only that loss. And let's say the God has blessed you with that, and then it could have been different, because you would never realize the value of that person. So whatever is not resourceful in your life, we'll always focus on that. So we have to be psychologically very strong on this. And one thing is, never be granted of anybody, because if they know your goals, because like everyone of has mentioned, life has systemized for us to be a good student, good marker, go abroad, or be a good profession, or a civil servant, or whatever, right? So they have a set of standards that we all live by. But once you get matured, and then you realize, you count on like, what are the 3 things that I'm happy about? And then, you really think none of this really matter in these three things. So if you are conscious of what you do, if at the end of the day it is making you fulfilled, not comparable with anybody, but always one thing is, never take anybody for granted, because everything is temperament. We are not a finest people on this earth. We are not infinite, we are a finite people. So the day goes out. One thing is, whether they can be your relatives, friends, or anything, but there are always memories, because out of our personal life, there's more of academic life, right? We all have spent an average of 20 years. Somebody was talking of a good teacher, good friend, or good mentor. So you could collectively take them, remember them, because they have effortlessly or without selfless act they have done for you, so that we are all here for some reason. So always take that gratitude of that and keep moving in your life. Somebody has mentioned, even if I lose my job tomorrow, I can do. So you remember your past. You might not have got a job after your graduation. You could have done a part-time. If you could have done that, you could do anything possibly forward, right? So always think about those tough times you have done, so that is like you are pushing force forward. You could do anything in life. So don't identify yourself with any accomplishment, but always be open-minded about everything. Thank you, Rahul. Thanks a lot for another round.
Now that we had a few things that I've personally benefited or stood strong on are, one is commitment. I've often had this challenge. I don't know, it's a trait or it's a rule, but invariably it has gotten to me that for whatever things I've committed to, it's like मैं खुद की नहीं सुनता हूँ, that kind of a dialogue, and I've reaped massive benefit out of it. So if you talk of 20 years of living life that I've been, it's not a full-time profession. I've always had my academic world, job, business, and everything has been there. But if I've been committed to the journey of living life, or the Speak Up Club journey, so it's been almost 5.5 years with almost like literally no money in it, and still making an effort weekly or monthly or however things are going on. That's a kind of a thing where I've said, I feel I'm one person where if I've committed to something, there's no stopping me, and sometimes that has also backfired. So that has also had its repercussions because of that. And so I've also now learned that I also need to commit to not doing anything also. And I'm consciously learning that process of maintaining that commitment. Second is something which Sid was mentioning. So I come from a family where since our childhood I've seen this, where my father, though we are in business, the way we engage with our staff, with our customers, with anyone, irrespective of their title that they carry, it's something that we have always valued. Even today, we have our lunch in the office with our staff. We go outside, we take along our staff members, we take in whatever we are doing anywhere, in our homes also. Our maid is often sitting with us on the table whenever we have a full-time maid with us. So things like that, where we see like what Sid mentioned, the dignity of labor, irrespective of the title and which class they come from, it's something that we hold. And finally, one is a professional philosophy that I've gone to build over the years is never to settle. I've always questioned and challenged myself to what I'm doing today and what I can do tomorrow. And that has constantly upped my game with regard to the things that I've tried to chase and pursue. Luck with regard to achievement or not is a different story. But I've always challenged myself to keep scaling up and not settle for what I'm doing. Because frankly speaking, not today, but even 10 years back, I could have just sat in the business, worked for like 4 to 6 hours a day, and I could have a great life, enjoying every bit of it. But somewhere I heard this quote which said that the meaning of life is in changing the orbit. We all could be born wherever we are, in whatever orbit that we are operating. The meaning to our life will come from moving to the next orbit, wherever it is. A rickshaw puller moving to the next orbit, or a billionaire moving to the next orbit. In the work that we do, in what we deliver, in what impact we have in the world, it's all about that next leg of what you're going to do, and that is what is going to matter. You can feel miserable and depressive even with $1 billion, if you're not seeking that next leg of growth. And that's something that has pushed me always with regard to the pursuits that I have, the work that I do, and everything that I'm chasing. So grateful for each one of y'all coming today and sharing your perspectives, sharing your rulebook, your constitution. And I think I leave this room, or I leave this meeting a lot enriched, knowing that there's so many different kind of people, and there's so much that we can still learn from each other, from the stories and the experiences that you have shared. I take back so much, and I'm going to surely definitely look at what I can start working on, what I can start doing, what I can start building from the insights that you have given. And it's far more valuable than any book that could provide me. So with that, we come to an end for today's Speak Up Club.
But kudos to you for continuing this. I did not know that this initiative has been there for 5 years. So I think it just deserves a big round of applause from all of us. So that's all I would say, because there's little that needs.
What I love about this is my second time attending it, and what I love is the authenticity and the simplicity of each speaker, the audience, and the way you make all of us very comfortable that this is not a mic we are holding, is just a recorder, and we are just talking to a small set of people very comfortably. So keep up the vibe.
Like he said, I've been coming here, or I've been a part of this space for a very long time. So I've been giving feedbacks for 5.5 years now. So this is a space that I've always loved, and I'm here after quite a while. I've never taken such a long break from this. It is so refreshing to be here and see new faces and some familiar faces as well. So it's always a wonderful experience listening to all of these perspectives. And I will have to go back to the recordings because I missed half of them. But yeah, thank you to everyone who's here and sharing your thoughts, because each one of you adds some value to the platform. So thank you so much.
For public speaking platform, I came to know this on open mic. When I tried to book, that was a free of cost. Who the hell is guys giving the free of cost this public speaking? I thought like that. I did not even stop thinking about that one. After getting the Toastmasters, one of our Toastmasters that recommended this Rahul Jain's open mic. Then I attended. I came to know the reality there. Who is this Mr. Rahul Jain? The main asset of Rahul Jain public speaking, when he speaks, even though when he is not looking at you, he hits your heart. That is the main thing when it comes to Toastmaster, Mr. Rahul Jain. Last humorous speech contest, I was there. Just imagine his nimbleness. He was very nimble, then he was very spontaneous. His title of the speech, I love you, Rahul Jain. Rahul Jain, I love you. That was fantastic. The way you made it. That's what always teaches you, right? The experience. Whenever I meet you, off stage or on stage, you are always the same person. I really looking forward to meeting you again and learning from you. Thank you.